Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop 2021, everyone. I had a great holiday break with my family and we had a lot of fun. I went to Palm Desert where my sister Shannon Goldstein lives, who you guys know from Juicy Crimes. And we had so much fun because I stayed at the La Quinta Resort and Spa. And no, I did not get a deal. But as you know, that is where our girl Tasha filmed her entire Bachelorette season. So it really was it was not my intention when I booked there. It just is the closest to my sister's house. And obviously they had all the COVID rules, so there's no restaurants or anything open, but we could walk around the grounds and got very inspired. And please go to my Instagram and watch the 7-part series of The Bachelorette, Heather and Her Sons edition. They were such good sports, Drake and Brandon. And I even got my adorable niece, Haley, involved. She's my niece. She played Haley Harrison, the host of The Bachelorette. And and it was great. And it was really fun. And I got my nephew involved, who's a little shyer, but he did it because Drake says it's just something we have to do. It's just do it. The quicker you get through it, the better your life is. And you guys really enjoyed it. So that was really fun. And then let's talk about what's going on in the Bachelor franchise. Well, we had a big breakup, everybody. Not skinny, but not fat, actually let me know about this because I follow her. And they have broken up, Pilot Pete and Kelly. Now, if you remember from this season, Pilot Pete is one of the bachelors I hated more than anyone. He lived in Westlake. He said the same thing about everybody. He just annoyed the shit out of me. He had a greasy face. He got a scar when he wasn't paying attention to a cocktail glass in a golf cart. Anyway, he met this girl, Kelly, at the Four Seasons Westlake before the show started. She walked in and he was there for a high school reunion and she was there for a wedding, something like that. They had a meeting and she recognized him as the contestant of being on The Bachelor. They had something. We don't know if they boned, made out, talked all night, something. She then got on his season of The Bachelor and she made it to about maybe the 4th. And then he let her go because she kind of was honest about it and was like, I just don't, I'm having fun. This is a fun way to see things. I don't know. Somehow it got back to him. Then he picked his girl and the mother just was like, go get our girl. We love her. And he didn't pick her. He picked this other girl that the mother didn't like. The mother has since become famous. She's doing cameos. She is loving her life. He ended up not being with anybody. And then this girl, Kelly, came back in his life. And then they've been quarantining together. Okay. I did not follow either one of them. But he has one pilot. Pete the pilot has 1.9 million followers. And she is at like 900,000 followers. She's very pretty and she's an attorney. So I looked at her posts in the last couple months. Every other post is an ad. So the two of them, I don't really know what they've been doing during the last 9-10 months, but it seems like they've probably been making a pretty good living on just posting on Instagram and hanging out, and all the photos of them just being really in love. They post pretty often. And then last night she posted this, and I'll read it to you. Kelly Flanagan. I know a lot of you have already heard the news, but I wanted to take some time to process it for myself before sharing. It saddens me to say this, but Peter and I have decided to go our separate ways. Peter and I had some unbelievable times together, and they will definitely be missed. Unfortunately, him and I, which I'm not really sure if him and I is correct. I would think it would be, but he and I don't know, are in two different stages of our lives, and I saw our future paths differently. I wish Peter the absolute best and want to thank everyone for your continued support as I move on to the next chapter. I'm still hoping to make it to New York one of these days, but for now, I just wanted to focus on my happiness in 2021. I can't wait to see what you have in store. I didn't understand what that meant, but I think she meant what 2021 has in store for her. And the support that you guys have as being a super fan of Kelly. Well, I really don't know. That people said that she talked about wanting to move to New York, and maybe he didn't want to leave Westlake Village and his mother. There was another little something where someone said they heard, these are all like rumor type of stuff, that she wanted to go see her family for New Year's Eve, and he said, I'd like to spend one more night with my family. And then this post came up, which I think is pretty great.
Be filled with all the love,
this
all
is
the
the mom
joy,
talking.
all the happiness.
Merry Christmas, but we have one thing, because apparently we have a redheaded step brother in the family. We're all cleared for Christmas. This guy's not. What gives?
Go Hawks!
I mean, I guess that works.
Go Hawks, right?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, first of all, just so dorky. I hate it. First of all, his brother is not redheaded, not a stepbrother. It's just a weird thing. But they all have 3 of the same dumb Christmas sweaters on that have planes on it because he's a pilot. I just noticed that. How annoying is that? And then the brother has a Seattle Seahawk Christmas sweater on. Yeah, I get why she broke up with him. Goodbye. It was just, you know what? It was fun. There's probably nothing going on. She didn't have to be a lawyer. She got to post some beauty products. She got to bone Pilot Pete for a while during the pandemic when you couldn't bone anybody else. And it's like, it's 2021. It's a new year. The vaccine's around the corner. Let me get away. Let me live my life. So good for her. She made the right decision. Now, this hot guy is Matt the Bachelor. Very good-looking guy. It is a big deal because he's officially the first Black Bachelor. Now, we saw a Black Bachelor on what was the show that they parodied on Lifetime that was all about the show The Bachelor? What was it called? With this Rose or... They did like 4 or 5 seasons of it, and it was brilliant. And they did an entire season about when they got the first Bachelor who was not white. And anyway, this guy, I don't even remember him. I don't think he was a huge part of any of the seasons. But he is best friends with Tyler, who was a front runner in one of the seasons. And they're best friends. And they're very, very close. Here's a bunch of snapshots of them. Matt's hugging Tyler from behind. They're falling asleep on each other's shoulders. So cute. They're going for an athletic, shirtless, and high short wearing walk. So these pictures are very chummy. They look more like the best-looking biracial gay couple you'll ever see walking down the streets of West Hollywood. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying in these photos, they would make a beautiful family together because they're both perfect-looking. And so that one is starting. And that's going to be another quarantine type of situation to have filmed it. That's starting this week because... But they went to like Philadelphia instead of going to the La Quinta Resort and Hotel. They went to Philadelphia. But again, it's going to be limited, I guess, in, the places they can visit, the things that they can do. But, as much as we make fun of it, as many parodies as everyone does, we're probably going to watch again because what else do we have going on? Now, in sad Bachelor news, Carly and Evan broke up. Evan was the weird guy. He came off very weird in The Bachelor. He was the only guy we've ever had that not only was divorced, but had not 1, not 2, but 3 children. So that's the most children anyone's ever brought in as a single person coming on The Bachelor. He was very weird. He said one guy threatened him or something. Anyway, he didn't make it very far, but he got asked to go on Bachelor in Paradise along with another cute girl named Carly. And in the end, he got sick or something, and then she followed him to the hospital. And after that, they fell in love, and they left Bachelor in Paradise engaged. They got married, and they had 2 kids. She just announced they are, in fact, getting divorced. It's over. Now, there's some controversy of when they broke up because she did a YouTube video where she says, this is the divorce room. This is where Evan asked for a divorce. I didn't want a divorce. I would have tried to make it work. he said I put the kids as number one. I don't know if that's always the right thing to do. And then in going back to some of their videos, they were doing like a little Q&A on a YouTube, and the little baby daughter of theirs was making some, commotion. So she put her on her lap, and he was rolling his eyes, being like, oh, she always needs the attention. And it's like, well, sounds like you need the attention. His job was he helped men with erectile dysfunction. And apparently he had to pay $150,000 in a settlement for a lawsuit where he was giving deceptive ads saying we can fix your dick problem in one visit. That's anywhere from not, pre-ejaculation to not being able to get hard, whatever. Anyway, I guess it took more than one visit to fix these problems. And a lawyer got a bunch of people together, and they sued him, and they settled. So now he had to pay $150,000. He's got 5 kids, and his ex-wife went on Reality Steve and said she believed they separated in February of 2019. However, Carly said it was just after Thanksgiving when they bought a house together, and then they were about to move into the house together, and that's when he went to the divorce room and said, no, I don't want to move in here. I think, with anybody, I don't think that the ex-wife is lying or anything. I think they probably had a separation. The separation was probably, made even greater because of the, quarantine, or, oh, I guess you can't come. Oh, have you been in contact with someone? I don't know. And then when they found their house and were about to move back in, he's like, you know what, before I pack up these boxes, maybe I just don't want to. And so anyway, they're broken up, and people are sad about it, but I think she'll do just fine. He was not cute, and to think that he broke up with her is very weird. Anyway, she wants to spread positivity. Okay, let's get into I believe this was the greatest story of 2020. For me, it was, because it was so juicy, yet it didn't have the kind of bad, sad victim part that other stories have gotten me excited about. This is Elaria Baldwin. Now, you guys know, it has been discovered that Hilaria Baldwin, who presented herself as a Spanish-speaking immigrant, yes, that's how it was presented, who married Alec Baldwin, who made a living with books and television appearances, and as the cute Spanish-speaking mother of 5 yogi wife. She has a podcast. She's got like 900,000 followers on Instagram, and very much like a Selma Hayek or Penelope Cruz personality. You know what I imagine? Okay, they said this is the way they met, all right? So since this has come out, more and more stuff has come out. Interviews, bits, clips, which I'm going to get into all of it. I'm obsessed with this because one of the first sketches I wrote when I was at the Groundling Sketch comedy troupe was about a couple that came home from 1 week in Europe, and then were talking about smoking a fag, and that's a cigarette, and living in a flat and all that kind of stuff, because we've all kind of met those people that would act a little more European, or act, after they've been away for the summer somewhere, maybe your college roommate spent a semester at sea or a semester in Paris, and you gotta be like, all right, enough. But she really kept this going for 9 years. Now, the question is, did Alec Baldwin really know? And I don't really know. I think he's a weird guy. He was awful to Kim Basinger, his wife. He was, awful to the daughter when she was about 13. This is the famous, voice message that he left her. They were going through a very, very contentious divorce, and a lot of lawyers involved, a lot of custody battles between Alec and Kim. And I think the daughter was about 13, and I think either she flaked on their time alone or didn't want to go over to the dad's house, which happens a lot when kids are about that age and their parents are separated. And he left her the message saying, "You're a little pig." And I guess Kim did submit it in her divorce findings, and it went public. And I mean, there's even a YouTube video of Dora the Explorer, like with the voice of it. I remember my sons once saw it. It went very viral. Since then, Ireland, a very pretty girl, Also very popular on Instagram. She is an adult now. Kim has really not been acting. I haven't seen her in much. She is 67 years old. I did not realize that she was actually older than Alec. But I don't know what she's up to. But I bet when this story broke down a couple days after Christmas, who was the girlfriend that is like, Kim, I'm coming over with a bottle of wine and let's just fucking talk. Even if she didn't care about Hilaria and her 5 kids and that, because obviously she was nice to her daughter, Ireland. But there's just got to be some satisfaction in knowing that your ex-husband's wife has been proven to be like full of shit. As far as this, still doesn't mean that she's not a nice person, not a charitable person. But this is freaking weird. In a nutshell, she grew up in Boston. She went to high school here. Her parents are white. She's relatives all the way from like the Revolutionary War or whatever. There is no Spanish in her blood at all. The dad got into teaching some Spanish studies. The dad and the mom, who are still married, moved to Spain in 2011. And I think the brother might have gone there as well and visited or whatever. And she went on in so many interviews and so many things to say that her family lives in Spain. So in one interview, they're like, no, wait, what happened? She's like, I came here when I was 19 to go to school at NYU. And the 2 female interviewers are like, oh, from Spain? Yes, my family lives in Spain. Now, she didn't say I was born in Spain. And then she tried to say, in correcting that, when she didn't think it was going to be a big deal, like the first day this broke, she did an Instagram, IGTV, like right to camera, and then she took it down. And that's when she said, what I meant was I moved from Boston to NYU when I was 19 because all these people went to high school with Hillary in Boston. So I thought that was really interesting. Now her and Alec met, according to everything that's been researched, is he walked into a restaurant in New York, was there, and she was there, and she was speaking perfect Spanish to a waiter or something. And he said, I must know you. And she said, you must know me? Now, I think he just was like, loved that little sexy Spanish accent, much like a Selma Hayek, who was his love interest in 30 Rock in 2008, 2009. He met Hillary in 2011. And I think that just was kind of like hot. It's like the couple, let's see so here they are getting married. I'm looking on my YouTube. For those of you that like to watch this on YouTube, I have all the photos from their wedding. And she kept very much with the Spanish theme. She has this long traditional Spanish veil that covers your head. It's very, it's from that type of style. And I think they had a Spanish speaking priest. They found a Spanish church, Catholic church in New York to get married in. And she did interviews. 40 people from my family came over from Spain. So it was crazy. You can imagine how crazy it was with the Spaniards here. Well, those people are just people that live in their vacation home that like retired there and came over. And then she said, oh my God. And my relatives, they're like, how do we say your new name? Is it Baldwin? Baldwin? They don't know how to say Baldwin. They're Spanish. They don't know how to say Baldwin. I mean, it just continues on. Alec Baldwin goes on David Letterman and it starts imitating his wife's Spanish accent. And he goes, and it's not being racist because she is from Spain. And she, and so he's playing into it. And I just think people sitting back loved it. And the more that they loved it and encouraged it, I think he just went along with it. I don't know that he ever really asked her about her high school life. He might be one of those guys that doesn't really ask. I don't know. I ask a lot of questions, but, I just interviewed Emily Simpson from Real Housewives of OC, and she said she's never really asked her husband about his Mormonism, and they've been together 12 years. So I don't know how other couples work, but I think he loved the package. So Kelly just said, what do you think when he met the parents and they didn't have an accent? I don't know that he really cared to get to know the parents. A lot of, he's an older guy. He has his hot wife. She's popping out babies. She's really sweet to him. She's down to bone him anytime. She can whip up a nice meal. I don't know. And, he's one of these guys that works a lot and he kind of has to. I don't think he's enormously wealthy as a star. He needs to take he does like a show with celebrities, some game show. I forgot the name of it. The truth or to tell the truth, or I don't know what it. And he said in interviews, like, I take a paycheck. Like, there's jobs I take straight up. I need the paycheck. I've got 6 kids, including Ireland, and a home in the Hamptons, a home in New York. I think he has a really expensive lifestyle, and but I think he like totally loves her and loves what she was. And I don't know. I don't know that I think she was kind of used to presenting herself like that, was starting to get into it. And then like on their first date, she said, oh, for the first 5 weeks, we just held hands. And then, 5 months into the relationship, we got an apartment together. And so it's just fascinating. I want to see a movie made about this. I really do. Of when do I stop? Or for some people, like a Madonna who picked up an English accent when she was living in England, did she just become so used to it that she kind of forgot her old way of speaking? Like, if I had to do an impression of Drew Barrymore, I could do her for an entire week. And then could I do it for a month? Yeah. Could I do it for a year? Probably. And then maybe I would just forget if it was part of my life. If I had to do this, just like when somebody becomes an actor in a really intense movie, they sometimes say, I'm not going to get out of this character the entire 3 months I'm doing this movie. I'm going to be like this when it's break time at lunch. That's what I'm going to do because that's how well I do it. So I don't know. It's just fascinating. And then at first Ireland defended her and was just like, I'm so sick of people bullying, and being cruel. What do you care? And stay out of people's lives that you don't know. Well, I think it's one thing to be an actor and you put yourself out there as an actor. But in this day and age, if you're an actor or television personality that also goes and makes a huge presence on Instagram, then I really think you cannot bitch. Because if you're going to open your life on Instagram, if you're going to profit from Instagram, then people do know you. Those 900,000 people that follow you do feel like they know you, and they feel deceived, and they have a right to say something. I'm not for anybody making mean threats or something, but at the same time, it's a DM threat. It's a comment threat. They're not at your door. They're not, pounding. I understand if it's like there's been worse internet threats for people, but like, stop. So anyway, Ireland goes on to say, she said a really good thing. She was like, I still love my stepmother. She's still a really great human being. I do understand now about cultural appropriation. I do appreciate you guys writing me DMs. I am understanding why this is like, difficult and hurtful to some people. And I think she's just like, and she goes, but I'm not going to speak on it anymore. It is, my stepmother's choice to speak on it. So at first, Hilaria was like, I'm going to leave social media. And then within 3 hours, she was still posting Instagram stories. Well, in the last week, she has completely stopped because it really became so big, and we're continuing to talk about it. Yeah, there's so much that where Alec brings it up. There's another interview where they are being interviewed by Extra because she had been hired by Extra, okay, the TV show, and they're at like some Hall of Fame thing, and he's laughing, being like, she doesn't know anything. She's from Spain, and she doesn't know. She goes, well, I know no pop culture. I'm sorry, I don't know any pop culture. I'm from Spain. I don't know pop culture. Well, then why the hell, if you don't know pop culture, why the hell did Extra hire you? That's what pisses me off too, because these are the kind of jobs that, at one time I aspired to have, and they weren't going to me. They were going to famous men's wives. Okay. A lot of, even Howard Stern's wife did a little bit on Extra. I don't know why they all wanted to hire people on Extra, but it's probably because they went to some Hamptons party talking to Alec Baldwin, or maybe they share the same agent. Right away, she got a great agent. And then to add the element that she's not only bilingual, but she's actually Spanish, then that brings this other great element that we all want to include in television, which is diversity. So that is really the problem here, is that she was definitely getting opportunities by presenting her as someone of a diverse background when she wasn't. And I think that is what pisses people who actually are Latina, because for them to get that job, they came here, they had to learn the language. They definitely had a struggle. We thought she was someone who had a struggle. She didn't. And it's fascinating. And what's fascinating is like, who else did this? Now we know the one girl, what's her name? Rachel Dozell. There was a really fascinating documentary about her where she was raised in a home, and I believe her brothers were black and they were adopted, but she was white, and she left her family, and she didn't have a lot going on with her family as an adult, but she would tan, and she had very curly hair, and she presented herself as a woman of color, African American. And she got a job. Did she get a job with the NAACP? I think she did. And it was all, then eventually it was found out because the parents one time were interviewed and they're like, yeah, no, she's not black. And that was kind of an interesting thing too. And I think even at that time, there were people that were like, well, what does it matter? She's still really helping the black community. But I think now we understand why it really is so wrong. There was also a movie, oh my God, called Soul Man. I just am remembering this. Also, when you guys criticize me about like not remembering perfect facts and things, it's because, especially when I'm doing something by myself, I have a train of thought that I remember a lot of things that might make sense. And I don't have it in front of me. I don't have a staff of 8 people. There is a movie called Soul Man, okay, that it was about a guy who wanted to get into medical school, but because he was white, he felt he would have a better chance getting in if he presented himself as a black man. So he took all these pills that made him dark, and it was C. Thomas Howell, and he then presents himself as a black man at the medical school and falls in love with this black girl. And I mean, this movie was only like 25 years ago. So bad. It's just amazing what people thought was okay. And this, I think, I don't know what's going to happen. My prediction, I don't even know what my prediction. Definitely hang low. Definitely shut down all your social media. Raise your kids. Learn the word for cucumber in English and Spanish. And for Alec Baldwin, I think he needs to go away for about a year. You know, he was always playing Donald Trump, so I don't know if he'll come back to SNL when there's something funny to do about Donald Trump. I'm sure they would want him for whenever the inauguration happens. I'm sure there's going to be something that could be very humorous to parody that day. Will he come do it? Will he? He seems to have no sense of humor about it right now. But what would be amazing is if he had a sense of humor about it and they could reference it slightly so that he'd like, wink, wink, leave us alone, we're fun. But does she never speak with a Spanish accent again? Because it goes in and out. So now is she having to abandon it because God forbid she does go out 3 months from now and the accent comes back, then because that's what she's presented when she's had cameras or lights in front of her. You know, I hope she's getting some therapy. And I don't know what the family is saying to her. I just think they accepted that she was doing this. And I just think they thought it was cute. And then I think as the jobs came, then it was becoming a bigger and bigger thing to say, wait a minute, let me just correct you. I'm not Spanish. I absolutely love the culture. I speak it fluently. Can't get enough of it. Want my kids to know everything about Spanish history, culture, and I love that my family lives here, but just so you know, like, I dyed my hair dark and I'm not like, who would have ever thought to stop and say that in an interview? And she did a podcast interview with Bobby Brown, the makeup artist, and Bobby Brown says, oh my gosh, and your English you speak English so well, like very impressed, as anybody would be. And she's like, oh, yeah, thank you. Well, my family lives in Spain, so, I don't. Oh, so Kelly reminded me that they straight up asked her, are you Latin? And she said, well, my parents live in Spain, so yes, or something like, I don't know if she said so yes. But she was trying to be careful a little bit in not blatantly lying, but now that she knew that this was the perception, she kept it going. And it kind of reminds me of this other story that happened with this comedian. And years ago, before podcasts were really huge, he had done a podcast story and he talked about being in New York on 9/11. And the podcast and that interview was very interesting, and a lot of people, were like, "Wow!" And and then the next time he was asked about it, he went a little further with the story, and it was that he was in one of the buildings and he was running out. And I am paraphrasing this; I don't remember. I'm giving you the gist of it. And this comedian was quite popular, and he he had a show like on a sports channel, and he was like doing pretty well. And in fact, we shared an agent. So then, every time he'd go do a podcast or do an interview, someone would do the little bit of research and they would then ask him again about it. And another interesting thing about you is you were right in the center in New York City when 9/11 hit and you're near the buildings, or were you in the building? Can you tell us? And then he would embellish it a little bit more, a little bit more. Well, then someone, again, just like with Hilaria, someone sitting at home kind of broke the story and realized he was not there. He may have been in the city, but the story was definitely embellished. He was not in the building. He didn't run from it. He didn't almost die. All these things that he had then piled on through other interviews became known. And to anybody that had lost anyone or had been there, they were fucking pissed. And the one comedian who does have the biggest direct line to 9/11 is Pete Davidson from SNL, whose father died in 9/11 as a firefighter. So there was something like, you kind of took Pete Davidson's story from him. Like, Pete Davidson should be the only one that has this 9/11 story. Why would you take this story? And he was, very apologetic. He had to go away from a while. Yes. Was he getting death threats on the internet? Probably. How serious were they? I don't know. Anyway, he profusely apologized. Exactly his excuse was that I kind of mentioned it once. It kept getting asked to me. And then when I tried to get out of telling the story, I was sort of forced to tell it again. And then I would, so I really don't know where his career is now. A lot of people were like, we're never going to forgive him. But I think he's still a funny guy, and I think he can still get work. But yeah, that was a devastating moment. I mean, devastating. Now, this is not as devastating as Harvey Weinstein or anybody else that's, has victims that are claiming to have been like sexually assaulted by someone. But this is the same kind of scandal that sort of brings me excitement in that, like, oh my God, these elitist people, these people that think they're holier than thou, these people that think that they're so, wonderful and great and partying with the one percenters in the Hamptons are being found out to be inauthentic and are frauds. And I just kind of love it. And, I love that, but I like this story the best because there is a real specific victim to what Hilaria did. Did she take a couple hosting jobs away from somebody else? Yes, she did. Could that have been me? Possibly. I don't know. That's not a big deal to me, though. But so it's kind of a fun fall from grace story, which gets me sort of excited. I'll just be honest about it. And so anyway, there's then the other story was with Allison Williams' dad. Brian Williams, dad to Allison Williams, who was on Girls. He was a very respected, anchorman, reporter throughout, his whole career. And he started to share a story about being in a chopper in war-torn, Iraq. And again, the story was told on talk shows. It was then brought up on another talk show. It got more embellished, and then it turned out to absolutely not be true. He wasn't in the chopper or the plane, and he had to go away. He's gone. I don't know when he's coming back. Again, he's not Matt Lauer, who actually, the accusations were that he sexually assaulted people that worked under him. But a weird lie that went too long. And so I was thinking back in my life, is there anything that can come back that I have exaggerated because it's a fun story? And the answer is no. So that's good to know. So, but if you have one, you might want to start clearing it up, or, going back into your internet blog posts or whatnot if you're a little bit famous. Okay, let's move on to the Real Housewives of OC. I kind of love this as well. So Bronwyn, who is the mother of 7, who has an open marriage with her husband Sean after 20 years, who says she's dating multiple women now and identifies as a lesbian, and says that she was never attracted to men nor never enjoyed having sex with them. So she did an Instagram Q&A. And someone asked, how would you feel if Sean started dating someone? And she said, I would be heartbroken if husband Sean falls for someone else. So I kind of love this, because my understanding in the Bravo world is that they are so strict about what the cast posts about each other on social media. They get fined $1,500 if they write something negative about a cast member on Twitter, though it seems like some of them get charged and some of them don't. Well, Elizabeth, who was just on my show, the newest housewife, Vargas, she took the article and posted it on her Instagram. And so she wrote, okay, I'm sorry, but this is just getting to be way too much. Didn't she just announce that she's never been attracted to him ever, and she's sleeping with women? Acceptable behavior because she calls it a modern marriage, or extremely narcissistic and hypocritical. Thoughts? So obviously, she tagged everything. I'm just reading to the public. I'm just reading all the public headlines. You can't make this shit up. So I was like, are they going to get mad at Elizabeth for that? So then Emily wrote under her post, who is also on the show, he should vote himself off the island at this point. A regular person wrote, somebody's going to have to kidnap this poor man. And then Emily wrote, you just gave her a new storyline. And then Kelly Dodd wrote, I want to comment so bad, haha. Kelly doesn't want to comment because Kelly has been charged by Bravo a couple times for supposedly, quote unquote, breaking the rules on social media about each other. I really don't understand that policy. If I was working for Bravo, I would be like, you know what? This is what keeps people interested. It's, if we know that they're fighting before, and then the episode comes out a couple months later, it's going to make us want to watch it because we watch this drama. So I don't really get that. But they have filmed their reunion, and maybe this will lead to the juiciness. I don't know, but clearly they're not friendly with Bronwyn. It sounds like none of them are. And she said she found her girlfriend because some other friend made her a Tinder profile, and it's pretty juicy. All right, now here is a photo of Ben Affleck. He looks absolutely awful. He has a beard. He looks skinny. He looks short. He's picking up his contactless Dunkin' Donuts at his door, and he's doing the double bird to assume paparazzi who took a photo of him. And this is just not my Ben Affleck from the town. I don't know why he looks so skinny. I don't know if he's just aging or what. There's been rumors that he asked for a lot of sugar in his Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Maybe that's all he's drinking, is just a ton of sugar and coffee all day. There's another photo where he looks much hotter, okay? He's wearing a Boston shirt, and he still has a lot of Dunkin' Donuts in his hand, and he's still annoyed that the paparazzi has snapped a photo of him, but he looks more like my Ben. So it's very weird because they seem like they're close in time. And he has a girlfriend is she Cuban? Or she just might have gone to Cuba. She's an actress who I think we know about her, Anna something. I think we know about her because she is dating him. So I'm kind of curious of she's Cuban, maybe. Now you're going to have to question everybody. You know what's also weird about that is that generations before us, people would come here from other countries and they almost sometimes wanted to hide that they were not American because there was so much, prejudice towards other nationalities and people were not open to other races. And now it's like so sad if you're just a plain white person. Like it's people are just trying to be any way they can, be some type of exotic, want to be different. Everybody wants to be different. And sometimes you're just not that different. Just deal with it. Okay. Jordan Firstman. He was on my show. I brought him on Juicy Scoop because I discovered him and I thought he was so funny because he did this impression of Banana Bread's publicist and how excited the publicist would be that Banana Bread is the cover of Time. And I thought it was so clever and a lot of people picked it up and he really kind of blew up. And then he came on my show and I'll be honest, he was not that well received. People did not find him that funny. I still thought he was really funny. I was really excited for him. He was another one of those guys that came on my show and really did not promote it. I was like, oh, okay. I thought, but a bunch of Juicy Scoopers started to follow him and he got a Versace ad. Was it Versace? I mean, he's like everywhere. He's like he got every other post that he does is another article about how he's the hottest thing that come out of 2020. Genius, comedic, delight. Anyway, well, someone went deep dive into his tweets and we found some not good tweets from 2012. And the tweets were, speaking of homeless people, has anyone tried killing one? Okay, that was the one tweet from 2012. And then retweet, if you are a strong Black woman, I'm looking to hire someone to fight in my place when needed. He also wrote, I hate Indian people because at my last Dublin Donuts, they knew my name and order, and at this one, they don't. Okay, so some people have come to his defense, like Jamil, calling his tweets satire, and they also pointed out but others have say how tone deaf and offensive they are. So it's 2012, and I've talked about this before. The climate was very, very different. Now, if you're pretty young and listening to the show, it is really hard for you to hear that and to think that someone would think that was funny. He was really young at the time. I think he was only like 19 or 20. Again, I have told people if this does not exist as a business, it should. That actually the agents of people should have interns at William Morris. The minute they sign you, they go, give us access to your social media. We're going to have our team of people go through and delete and scrub anything that could be problematic that you might have said. That's what they should do. That should be something that your new agent does. If you are an agent and you have a hot up-and-comer, they really should do that. I believe that they should do that. And how do I feel about it? I mean, he's doing just fine. A couple of people were like, cancel him. Well, no one's going to cancel him. He's going to create his own content. He's going to continue to work. He immediately wrote an apology. But these are the kind of jokes that I remember hearing back then. And and people on TV would make jokes like this and nobody called them out on it. So it became this kind of thing where people kind of thought it was okay and it was sassy. And then other people say sometimes men who are gay, who are comedians, feel like they have like an extra okayness to be able to joke about this stuff because being gay gives them like one kind of checked box of like, I've struggled, so therefore I have a more of a leeway to make fun of people that are also struggling. So, it's just, everybody's just growing and learning. And so I think he'll be just fine. But he still didn't post about my show enough, but that's okay. Civil lawsuit against Danny Masterson. Now, we know this is the guy from that 70s show. He is a Scientologist. Numerous women have come forward claiming that they were sexually assaulted by him. It went to a judge in California, and the judge said it must go through the Church and Scientology arbitration, because the judge says when they joined the Church of Scientology, I guess they signed some contract, which a lot of people do. Oftentimes real estate, when I was in real estate, there is an addendum to when you enter into escrow and when you give a listing to a realtor saying anything, any problems that happen, we agree that'll go to arbitration first before a lawsuit is ensued or court. So a lot of companies have that. A lot of contracts have that. And I guess Scientology has that as well. So in doing it, they said it has to go back to that arbitration because you signed this and it's already begun there. So we're not going to take it in the courts. But for many people, I think that's extremely disturbing. Knowing the complaints that people have made about Scientology, feeling that it isn't exactly a fair place, they feel like this is wrong. He'll probably have to pay them a lot of money. He'll probably never work again, but he's not doing any kind of, he won't be doing any time, which I really think is probably what he's most thrilled about, is that he will not be doing any time. And we'll see what happens. But now it'll be arbitration. It'll be closed. So we'll never know what happens to these girls if they get money. But I can't imagine what they've gone through in coming forward, dealing with all the harassment from the church and the public, finally getting their day in court, and then being told they have to go back to the Scientology lawyers. I think it's really disturbing and really sad. There's got to be a moment when some of these girls are like, why did I even fucking bother? Because even if you feel like you're winning, and even if you feel like people are supporting you, it takes so much energy out of your life, and you're going to look back, and they're going to look back at these years in their life, and this is what is going to be their freshest memory of how much time it took from their lives. So I really feel bad for the victims. Okay, we had some more quarantine breakups, unfortunately. Zoe Kravitz has broken up with her man. They are getting divorced from husband Carl Goldsman. I don't really know. I think he's just an actor. Anyway, they are about the best looking couple in the world. I think she's our most gorgeous actress right now. I think she's like this generation's Angelina Jolie. She's just perfect looking. Anyway, she's only 32, and I don't think they don't have any kids, or they do. So is she not a mom, Kelly? She's not a mom. Anyway, they broke up. They couldn't take it. Now, Olivia Wilde was married, or maybe they were never married, but she had 2 kids with Jason Sudeikis, and from the comedian. And they had 2 kids, but they never got married. She's like 37, right? And Jason was 45, but now she's dating a very hot 26-year-old. Yes, she is dating Harry Styles. They are seen hand in hand going to a friend's wedding together wearing masks. He, as you know, was on the cover of Vogue magazine wearing a very beautiful dress. He likes to express himself. He wears dresses. They met because he was in a movie that she recently directed. And she's wearing a very pretty floral, kind of like prairie type dress. So I don't know if he'd be into it. He's wearing a very feminine lace blouse with his tuxedo. And he looks to be also carrying a purse. It could be a Prada purse. So he's sort of into just, wearing whatever, which is kind of great. And I think he's obviously straight, but likes to dress a little feminine, which is much like David Bowie. David Bowie, rest in peace, married to the beautiful model Iman. But years ago in the 70s, he was wearing makeup and dressing very feminine. And, people just were like, oh, okay. I don't know. It's just, people were very accepting of it. And it's kind of weird that now you have to make some statement about the fact that you do that. I don't know. But pretty, we'll see where this couple goes because, there's a lot going on here. That she's dating him, that he's younger. Kind of love it. Justin Bieber, you guys, he is studying, apparently, page 6 is saying, he is looking to get even holier. He is studying to become a minister and hoping to help lead the Hillsong after firing of his preacher, Carl Lentz. So he might become his own preacher of his own church. I mean, Kanye West is going. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there. We've got the weird Mary from Salt Lake City, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She's annoying as shit. And that woman, she's a preacher. A lot of like religious reality stars coming out of our time. Okay, let's talk a little bit, as I just talked about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I told you guys that I've been so annoyed with the show, but I continue to watch because I can't help myself. And there is this kid named Brooks, and he dropped out of school to be a fashion designer, and his mom is Meredith, and she's on the show, and she has a jewelry line in Salt Lake City, and she's got a really weird voice. It's kind of like this, and, because Brooks is going to do his fashion show in the first ever Salt Lake City Sundance fashion show. I'm excited about it. And he's thrilled. And I don't know because I'm separated from his father. So it's very weird. She and the husband are separated. And he comes, down. And it's like they're having these scenes. It almost seemed like they rehearsed them before. And he's like, I miss you. I love you. But my job's in Ohio. Will you come? And she's like, no, I'm not. Brooksy's got his fashion show. So he has to go back, and Brooks does his fashion show. And he's modeling in it as well as people wearing his clothes. Well, his outfit is black sweats. He went and got a bunch of black sweats, and then it looks to be like he got a piece of white masking tape and wrote Brooks Marks in red marker all over it. But it is exactly the copycat, except of saying Givenchy on it, sweatsuit, it says Brooke Marks. So I'm sure people are just dying to buy Brooks Marks sweatsuit. But he's just kind of a brat, and he's just like, So then the dad's like, hey, I'm sorry I couldn't be there for the fashion show. Okay, Dad, but it's really upsetting. Who doesn't go to your son's first fashion show? I don't know how I keep watching the show. I can't stop, but I hate it so much. I fall asleep in between, but I still watch it. And then there's the other woman that drives me crazy is Jen Shaw. She's got 5 assistants. Can somebody please tell me what her job is? They say she has to travel. She has all these people working for her. They're always doing her hair. They feed her. They fan her. They roller skate in the office with her. What is her job? Does she make any money? Is this another MLM we don't know about? What is the deal? I saw an old photo of her. She looked completely different. It feels like the fakest show ever. And of course, there's Mary the Preacher that isn't featured as much these last few episodes because everyone hates her. But no one's bothered by the fact that she's wearing head to toe Gucci and taking her parishioners' money. So there's that. Then Real Housewives of Potomac, their reunion happened. It's over. And afterwards, Monique made a statement that she will not be coming back. Monique got in a lot of trouble this year for physically attacking her castmate Candace. What was revealed in the reunion, which is pretty interesting, whether you watch the show or not, is Monique, who had given birth to a baby just recently, her 3rd child. She claimed that after Andy's baby shower, the girls, her castmates, which she did not go to that, all went out to eat. And they talked about the fact that there's a rumor going around that baby is not her husband's child. It's her personal trainer's, and they're going to put it out on the show. And so she and the husband bring that up. And they're like, well, we never brought it up. Now you're bringing it up. And then Monique or someone posted in, again, an Instagram Live Q&A with Candace, who then said, yes, that did happen. We went out after Andy's baby shower. Somebody brought it up. And I said, that's a dumb thing to bring up because the baby looks just like her husband. And then they showed a scene at the reunion that they had never shared in the show where Giselle comes over and she goes, oh, you haven't met the new baby yet. And Giselle says no. And Monique goes, here he is. And then Monique's husband says, don't you think he looks just like me, or you don't think he looks like me? And she goes, no, he looks like you. And she's like, that's weird. And so Monique and her husband heard that this was going to be plotted against them on the show. However, if they did talk about it on the show, the producers chose not to show it, but the girls are saying, no, we did discuss it as a rumor going around town, and we all kind of decided we weren't going to bring it up. Therefore, you and your husband were the only ones that brought it up, hinting at it, which was strange. In the end, the husband was so upset and so disgusted with the whole situation. He's like, this is my family. And then meanwhile, Giselle, she had security there, like a security guard there, because she's like, I'm worried about, Monique's big football playing husband going to come attack me in the middle of the I did look at the size of Monique's husband, and I was like, if he did get pissed and want to run after anyone, they would need 12 security guards to take him off. So I don't think one standing there would have been enough. There's not enough cameramen in that room during the reunion. I think this guy is huge, but he contained himself. He was fine. And then afterwards, she made a statement saying, I am leaving the show. And then she put out some song about dragging a drag queen or something. And that's it. So she is off the show. And it's very interesting, the fourth wall element. I've talked about how that's the only way these shows can really grow and be interesting anymore, because we are all on to how they work. And last night on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Cynthia is engaged for the third time. This is going to be her third marriage. And the date she wanted to get married was 10/10/2020. And she and the husband-to-be are having problems because, of course, with COVID, they are trying to figure out what kind of wedding they can have in COVID. And they're at yoga, and Kenya's like, well, you should just get married. Don't worry. You want to have the big, you want to have the big show. And then all of a sudden, Cynthia goes, all right, let's just break the fourth wall here. Even if I wasn't on this television show, I still want to have the kind of wedding I want to have. And Kenya's like, no, you should just get married on that day, no matter what it's like. And then they go to Cynthia, and she says, you guys are not making me have a big wedding. You're not insisting that I have a big wedding. You're not, for the camera, I just really want to have the kind of wedding I want to have. And so I thought that was kind of cool that they kind of shared that aspect of it. And I don't know that we'll see the wedding on the TV show. I know that she had it. I know a lot of people went. They were wearing masks. It was a lot of people for what seems to be the norm when people go ahead and have an event during COVID. But yeah. So and then Kenya, which is kind of funny. Kenya was supposed to go to this party for Portia, and at the last minute they call and they say, no, we don't want you there. And she looks over to the producers, and you just hear the producers off camera. We just found out you're not invited. We didn't know either. And I just think that is such a smart move, because I think it makes it a lot more interesting to watch these shows. All right, last thing we're going to talk about, Busy Phillips. She, Page Six reported that she put on her Instagram, or put out there, I don't give a fuck. You can talk about how I'm gay and out. Busy Phillips is opening up about when her 12-year-old child, Birdie, came out to her, preferring they/them pronouns. And then Phillips feels that she fucks up sometimes, but I'm trying my best at that too. So what some criticism of this is not that her daughter has come out gay and change the pronouns. More that, is it necessary, if people are just giving their opinion, is it necessary for a mom, even though she's someone in the public eye, a lot of Instagram followers, an actress, a known person, to then have to tell the world whether, in an interview that their daughter, in fact, is gay at 12? Was it wrong for Busy to share that? And even if she asked her daughter, do you care if I put this out there? And the daughter says, no, do it, Mom. I think I kind of agree with some of those comments. Like, it is your daughter's sexuality. She's only 12. Do we really know what we are at 12? I mean, there's a lot of people who at 12 thought they were straight and they'd get married and then, lived a life of being gay afterwards. If you asked Bronwyn from OC at 12, I think she would have said, I want to get married and have a bunch of kids. Well, she's gay now. So I think that's really what people are kind of like, how much do you need to share about your kid's life? Now, a lot of people would say, Heather, you make your kids go be in a skit and pretend to be suitors, but they know what they're doing. And they said, will you do it? And they agree. And we do like one take and they go on with their fun lives. I am not exposing their intimate thoughts, and what they share with me, with you guys. And I just don't think I would with their sexuality, whatever that might be. So, and then with the they and the them, I'm just going to say, I understand why that's become, why that can be confusing to some people. And the only thing I'm going to say about that is, I think if my child wanted to change the pronouns, or if I know someone who has changed the pronouns to they and them, it is confusing. I think you just try not to use a pronoun when referring to that person. You don't ever have to use a pronoun. You can always use their name. Because if you were to say, Birdie, who's her child, Birdie went to the park. They lost their notebook. That is sort of confusing. You're like, well, was Birdie with other people? No. So then you would say, but if you said Birdie went to the park, Birdie lost Birdie's notebook, then people, if you're telling the story, it's just because I talked to someone who uses that pronoun and I thought both people were going through this graduate program when actually only one person was going through the graduate program. And I went and I thought, after hearing that, I was like, oh, that's so great that they're both getting their graduate degree. And then like several days later, I realized no, only one was because the other one goes by they and their. So it's a different time. It's fine. I'm not at all being critical. I understand how the pronouns work. I understand how it can be slightly confusing. I understand how some people think it's not grammatically correct. I think maybe we change. You can maybe change, maybe create new pronouns that I think people are doing. Or when talking to someone, if you think that in giving the message it might be confusing to someone else, maybe you just use the name that they're still comfortable using a little bit longer. I don't know. It is what it is. All right, you guys. I thank you so much for all the beautiful Christmas cards that I got from my Patreon peeps and from other people I know sent them to. I opened them. I read every one. I saw the cute photos. It meant so much to me. I had some of my best days opening those letters. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all of those of you who are on Patreon. You go to heathermcdonald.net and you click on Patreon. You can watch my special there. You can go back with all the content. There's so much there. There's different tiers with different content. Every Friday, though, however, on the first tier, you will get a brand new commercial-free episode. And it really keeps the show going. As you know, I celebrated 500 episodes, 5.5 years. And it is really, truly because the Patreon people. And I love that. And you get the extra juicy scoop, the stuff that I won't always share on this. There's probably something from this show that I later cut out and put on Patreon because it is just too juicy for the regular show. So there you go, you guys. And I will see you soon. Bye.